everybody? We're back, man. Blacktop Smack Talk. Adam's here. I'm your host today. My whole crew's here. Finally got the band back together, man. There's been so much going on in the world and in life, man. So we kind of had to take a couple weeks off, but we're back. And we got a really special guest today, man. You know, one of my personal favorite players from the town. He's a legend in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes. A newly crowned champion from the BBL, Peyton Siva.
What's up? What's up?
Man, how you doing, brother?
I'm good, man. Chilling right now.
Man, we appreciate you coming on, man. We know it's your off season, and you probably don't want to sit here and talk to some random Seattle podcasters, but we appreciate you taking a couple minutes out of your day to just sit down and rap with us real quick, man. We appreciate it.
Oh man, no problem, guys. No problem. Been following you guys for a little bit, so glad to be on.
Oh man, we appreciate the love, man. We appreciate the love. So yeah, man. We're gonna take some time for your fans and our fans to kind of get to know you. It's a little sit down. We'll just take some time, ask questions about your career. Get down to the nitty gritty of some stuff about personal matchups and stuff like that. No, I'm just fucking with you. We're not gonna get like that. But first, man, like you just got home from Germany, I think last week. Talk about what quarantine has like been for you. Like before. Okay, so you were in season, then you had to come home, right? And then you had to leave again. So talk about how quarantine was for you during that time.
It was a weird situation. We were in season. We heard about it in China. Slowly gravitated to Italy. We didn't really know the severity of it, and then finally it hit everywhere. And they canceled the season. They shut it down. So our team allowed us to go home. We came home, quarantined for a couple weeks, and it was tough. We didn't expect the season to come back. Everybody was in limbo about what was going on in Europe, in the States. So it was definitely a weird situation. And then we got the call that the league was starting back up, and had to kind of work back out, get back in the groove, try to get back into the best shape that I could to go back out there. And then we eventually just headed back out to Germany, had our own version of the bubble in Munich, and finished out our season with 10 teams in a tournament style. And we got the victory. We won it all. So that was a big deal for us. And then came back home, man. And nothing's changed.
Yeah. Just like when you got the call, just really quick before we move on, when you got the call to like your season was you said you guys were kind of in limbo, and you got the call like, all right, we're about to run it back. Were you working out at all? Were you able to like go like to a park or something and get shots up? Did you have access to like a private gym, or how did that work out for you?
Well, I had access. Luckily for me, I had access to a private gym out here.
Okay.
Where I live. So I was able to get a little bit of shots up, stay in a good rhythm, stay in a decent amount of rhythm, but I didn't know beforehand if I should, train like I'm going in the season or just kind of give my body a break and, gradually go along. You have different mindsets for different times. So I was able to get some shots up. So I was able to stay in a decent amount of basketball form, not in the best of shape. It was kind of hard, Everything was closed. Everything was sold out as far as weights and everything. So, right. I got on the Peloton a couple times, went outside and did some couple sprints here and there, but nothing like I would in the summertime when I was training for the season.
Right. Okay.
And real quick, how did that work with the like you mentioned, like the bubble? You guys had like a similar type of bubble situation in Munich. Like, were they pretty strict about what you could and couldn't do and like leaving and coming back? And how did all that work?
Yeah, it was real strict. For instance, we have to quarantine in our home cities. And then when we all traveled to Munich, every team had to either catch, go by bus or by van if teams were closer. So we bused for about 6.5 hours, 7 hours. We weren't allowed to go into any stores. We weren't allowed to have contact with outside people. Only time we can have a break is, you know, we had to use the bathroom outside or something, but we weren't allowed to, or walk around and get a little fresh air. But that was it. So once we got to the hotel in Munich, they shut it completely down. It was only the teams and team staff, a couple of hotel workers, and they had to stay in quarantine also for the whole tournament, and the photographers who also agreed to stay in there. So it was interesting. I mean, it was pretty locked down. You had to sign out if you wanted to go outside and take a walk or something, but you were only allowed to go out in groups of 4. You weren't allowed to go into any restaurants or any stores or any public places with people around. So it was more so you can go outside, walk around the park by yourself, or just go outside with the fresh air, but you have to wear your mask at all times. And, when we first got there, everybody had to take a test, stay quarantined for 10 hours until the test results came back. And then we were allowed to freely move around the hotel without the mask. But, it was pretty strict, but they accommodated us well.
That's good.
Well, let's take it back way back before quarantine, right? Before lockdown. Let's go back to the good old days in your youth and stuff. I'm always curious, being a basketball player, just an athlete in general that just happened to pick basketball. Did you, growing up, have any other sports that you like to do in your childhood per se?
Yeah, man. I credit to my mom, dad, for allowing me to get into different sports, to try them all out. I played baseball when I was younger. I played cricket when I was younger, ultimate frisbee. My favorite sport growing up, though, however, was football. I was a big football player, loved football. My family were, big into football. So those were my big things that I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed playing football, and I played football until high school, until I think it was my sophomore year. I broke my collarbone and I stuck to basketball. So, I enjoyed football for the most part. That's my favorite sport. But, eventually, basketball took over, and I feel like I made the right choice at the end of the day.
When you said you broke your collarbone your sophomore year, was that kind of when you realized that basketball was going to be your sport, or was it before that, or just kind of like that forced the issue?
That kind of forced the issue. I kind of, started getting better in basketball towards high school. Probably around my 8th grade year, going to freshman year, I was, really catching a groove and a rhythm. My athleticism was kicking in. My scoring ability was kicking in at that time. So that's when I kind of finally getting some recognition in basketball and playing. But always, my first love was football. So I wanted to play that also. And, Mario Bailey was the head coach at Franklin, and he got me to play. And, he's a legend in Washington. So he got me to come out there, play wide receiver. I loved it, loved the team. We weren't that good, but, I had a good time out there playing. And, and then when my sophomore year, I broke my collarbone, it was kind of done for me, because by the time my junior year came around, I had already committed to Louisville and already transitioned into, taking basketball more serious and focusing on that full time.
And was going to Franklin written in stone, coming into high school, or did you consider maybe some other high schools, or was boom, I'm going to be a Quaker, I'm going to Franklin?
I consider some other high schools. At first, Franklin was kind of written in stone because my brother went there. My older brother, he had went there, and then eventually he had transferred to Ingram, and I didn't want to go that far out. I liked Roosevelt because my favorite player, Marcus Williams, went to Roosevelt. So I was definitely thinking about going there. Obviously Rainier Beach was a powerhouse, and Garfield was literally right down the street from where I lived and where I grew up. So those were kind of like the main schools. But at the end of the day, I thought Franklin was the better fit for me. Talked to Coach Kerr at the time. I talked to Craig Jackson, who was the assistant coach, and just fell in love with their philosophy. Got a chance to watch the guards and everybody go through Franklin. The Aaron Brooks, Vanoy Overtons, Lindell when he transferred there. So I was able to kind of watch them and see the way that they played and really enjoyed it. And decided to go with Franklin. I thought it was a good fit for me and my style of play, and it worked out.
So you said there that one of your favorite players was Marcus Williams. I was a big fan of Marcus Williams too, even though he was younger than me. He used to always come up to late night at Meadowbrook. But what were some of the other players that you looked up to in the Seattle area? Maybe that either went to Franklin or just in Seattle in general.
See, it's funny because I didn't really grow up on basketball. Like I said, I grew up on football, so it wasn't like I don't really know a lot of the older guys per se. But for me, growing up, I got a chance to kind of catch Aaron Brooks, watching him a little bit. But I looked up to guys like Garrison Carr, Taylor Olson, because they played for Rotary, but they were smaller guards who I got a chance to work out with at late night. And I tell Taylor to this day that I always can beat him in shooting, but it's really not true. He doesn't miss that often. And I played with his younger brother, Trevor. But, those are some guys that I kind of looked up to. Another guy like Mitch Johnson, who, wasn't the flashiest guy, wasn't, considered the best player, but the way that he ran his team and the way that he won games, was amazing. So I kind of, watched all those guys, and then, I was closer to Vanoy. When he came in from, Portland, he was kind of like that unknown guy when he was coming to like Madrona, and he played against us at, Washington Middle School. And so I got a chance to follow him, and, he was a lefty guard. No one was kind of like on the verge of seeing that. And he was semi-athletic and he can shoot. So it was pretty cool to see that. So those are the guys that I kind of, besides Marcus, Terrence Williams, who eventually helped me get to Louisville, with the influence to get me to Louisville. But, those are guys I grew up watching, man. Seattle Rotary guys that I was able to see in person, train and practice. I was always amazed to, sneak into the gym and watch them practice, even though, they hated it because I was always telling them to dunk the ball, but I was a little kid.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. Well. Let me ask real quick. What position did you play in football? Were you a quarterback?
Nah, I was a wide receiver, and I played wide receiver, free safety, and corner at sometimes. And wide receiver was probably my best, just because of the fact that I was able to jump a little higher than most cornerbacks. And Jordan Daisy was my quarterback, and he was also the starting point guard for our team. So we had a little connection. He threw me the ball a couple times downfield, but it worked out.
Did you your freshman year at Franklin, did you win any like all Kinko awards or anything?
For football, I got an honorable mention for wide receiver.
Okay.
Drew some interest from there, but we weren't the best team, man. I think we won maybe like 2 games or something like that.
Okay.
We played in 4A, so it was a tough conference as far as football goes, and it wasn't the best for inner city school where football wasn't a top priority, but we made sure we got them back in basketball.
Right. I was gonna say, yeah, like you said, you made the right choice. You were 4-year starter, 4-time All-League, 2-time league MVP, Metro MVP, State Player of the Year, McDonald's All-American. The list goes on. We'll start off with your freshman year. What was it like playing with Vanoy? Like a senior freshman 1-2 punch?
Nah, Vanoy was actually a junior. My freshman year.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was awesome playing with Vanoy, in the backcourt, because he was such a good player, such a highly talented player coming out. But we had a good team. We had a lot of senior-led team with Donnie Cheatham, who was a starting point guard, Jordan Daisy, myself. I got to go in the rotation. So I learned a lot from those guys. And at the time, like I said, this is where my scoring ability was coming into play. My, athleticism was coming into play. So it was a really cool 1-2 punch between Vanoy and I. And, you know, we made some noise, and we eventually end up winning state championship that year.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. You made it state all 4 years, right, in high school?
Yeah, we went to state all 4 years. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, then you probably started to get a lot of love from a lot of the other Franklin greats like Antoine Williams, you know, Snow, even Aaron's brother. You got to know those guys over the years?
Yeah, I got to know those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to know those guys a lot over the years. You know, Jason Terry, who come back, he got his jersey retired. I got a chance to meet him. Eventually started training with him in the summer. Alvin Snow, you know, he'll come back, you know, give us, you know, his natural pep talk is just,
Yeah.
you know, him talking is a natural pep talk for us. You know, Kellen, all those guys, Ricky, you know, we had a bunch of guys who came back, Tavar, Proc. So we had a bunch of guys come back and talk to us, man. It was a big family, you know, between everybody. So it was good, man. And plus we had, you know, great guys as our coaching staff, you know, Coach Kerr, Rylan Brown, you know, all those guys, even though they're all day guys then
Now.
now,
Yeah.
you know, at the time being at Franklin, you know, I learned a lot of, you know, lessons from those guys.
Right. So I was going to say about Coach Kerr. What's some of the things you take away from playing for Coach Kerr? I mean, he's a Seattle high school coaching legend now. What's some things that, you know, that you still remember, like, you know, his tidbits that he taught you along the way?
Man, I would say one thing about Coach Kerr that I always loved about him was that he treated me the same way as he treated everybody else. Whether it was my freshman year or my senior year, he treated me the same way as he would treat a player on JV who came up and played with us, or the manager. And I think it's one thing that always stuck with me. And I said this before, you know, when I was talking to Snow, you know, with Coach Kerr, you know, a lot of times after practice or even after, you know, some spring event games, he would make the guys put up the hoops, sweep the floors, do things like that. And usually it will go to freshmen, and usually people would think freshmen do it. But, you know, my senior year, I was still putting up the backboard, sweeping the floors, working the clocks. So, you know, he treated me the same way that he treated everybody else. And I thought that was really cool for me because, you know, it never made me feel big-headed in a sense. You know, I always was able to remain humble, remain, you know, steady to the ground. And I always, you know, will thank him for that type of leadership that he showed. And that's one thing that if I can take away from anything from Coach Kerr would be that.
That's cool. Yeah, that garners a lot of respect from the whole program, you know.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Thinking about some of your biggest high school games, there was one game I was at. I mean, you battled him a few times, but there was one game at Roosevelt when you went against Glenn Dean. And it wasn't that packed of a house, but like around the first quarter, all of a sudden, like Aaron Brooks walked in, Dikembe Mutombo.
At Roosevelt.
Yeah. I grew up near Roosevelt. I was at that game. I was thinking about that game and the game. I think you were a junior against Beach when you had like 45.
Mm-hmm.
If you can elaborate on a couple of those games, if you can remember those. I just remember you and Glenn Dean were going at it.
Yeah, so the thing about Glenn was me and Glenn grew up together. He was my next door neighbor.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, we were always – I had a basketball hoop in the backyard, and we would always go back there and work out. Glenn was the first person I ever knew. And, you know, this was growing up as a kid. He would always try to make 100 shots every day. And I was like, that's the hardest working person ever. And, like, 100 shots isn't anything now, but to me as a kid, you know, that was amazing for somebody to make that many shots. And he would do that constantly. The way he just handled his business off the court, working on his dribble, walking up and down the street, dribbling the ball, training every chance he got. It, you know, I was a year younger than him, so I always watched him and tried to emulate him. And, you know, we hung out all the time together. So playing against him in high school he always gave me fits growing up. So that was a chance to kind of, you know, I was coming into my own. I was able to battle him, but he always gave us problems no matter what. I mean, he was hitting floaters off the glass. I remember that game when Aaron Brooks and them walked in. It was Houston that was playing the Sonics when we still had the Sonics, and he brought all them to the game. Yeah, bring the Sonics back.
Right.
So it was cool, man, to see those guys walk in, but it was also a childhood dream of both of ours to kind of battle against each other. And then the other game against Rainier Beach, my junior year,
Crazy.
Rainier Beach, was the #1 team in the state. They were led by Reggie Moore, who was an amazing guard. Shout out to Sky Blue. That's his thing now. But they had Aaron Brooks, Bobby, Aaron Dawson, Mike Ladd was one of the hottest names in the state at the time. Young kids. So it was a tough battle. We knew what we were going into. My boy Devon Pickett played on that team also, and me and him also, we grew up around the street from each other, and it was another little neighborhood rivalry. We would talk mess to each other the whole summer. We knew it was already on the schedule that we were going to play each other, and it was one of those games where it just kind of felt like a blur, but everything was falling. In the summertime, we played a couple times, and they were still stacked, and I think they might have beat us. I don't remember. I told them I don't remember summer games that much, but once we got a chance to play them, man, you get the crowd behind you. Our team was fighting, battling. Fred was hooping, Sporty was playing well, Chris was playing well, LC, everybody was just kind of like contributing in the right way, and everything was falling for me. And it took all 45 points to win that game. We eventually got a call to go our way in the overtime where it could have went against me or Reggie. It was a bang play, and luckily for us, he got fouled out, and I stayed in because we both had 4 fouls, and we eventually pulled out at the end and won the game.
That's what's up. Yeah, I think I was at that game too.
That was at Bell.
Yeah, BCC.
Crazy game. That game was wild.
So let's see. Do you have a favorite matchup that you had in either Metro or Kinko?
My favorite matchup would have to be, like I said, whenever I played against like a neighborhood friend was my favorite matchup. Whether it was Beach, when we played against Devon Pickett or Reggie Moore, I always look forward to those ones. Or whenever we played Garfield, Dre Taylor was another friend of mine. We grew up together, and him, Tone, they played together on Garfield. So whenever I got a chance to play against any of my friends from Rotary or guys I grew up with, those were the matchups I look forward to. Just because it was more of a bragging rights thing, because if we lost, I knew I would have to hear from them the whole summer. So it was
for sure.
And I ain't never lost to Rainier Beach or Garfield or any other inner city schools.
Oh wow!
I was just gonna say you had bragging rights for sure against Garfield. You went 10-0. You never lost to Garfield in your entire high school career.
No, never lost to Garfield. Never lost to Beach. So whenever those two teams, the only teams we lost to was out of state teams, or we lost to Bainbridge my senior year, and that was the one game we lost. So. I never lost a home game at Franklin my 4 years, and I ain't never lost to an Anderson school. So I can hold that over a lot of their heads right now.
Right. That's a big thing to hang over their heads in Seattle.
Definitely in Seattle. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So your senior year, you got what? Mr. Basketball, Metro MVP, McDonald's All-American. I think you got state tournament MVP, broke a record for assists. It's a pretty big year, like I'm sure you had some goals set. Tell me a little bit about that senior year,
It was big, man. We had an older team that senior year. My guy, Freddie Wilson, Chris Holmes, Sporty, he eventually got hurt, but, he played a big role in that year. He had some big shots, especially against a Fairfax team, that we got to beat at UW. Beyonce Reed stepped up huge for us that year. Rio Adams played huge. my one of my best friends got to play in that year, Leon Nelson. I tell him he sucks every day. Funny story. We'll talk about that later. But, we had an older team. So
Yep.
we had a group of guys who were veterans. We had lost to, state 2 years in a row before that. So we were kind of hungry to, win a championship. So we did a good job the whole year. We had one blemish on our record. It was at Bainbridge where, some things happened and, they ended up getting the win there. But, I think we played well that whole year. And, we had everything clicking. Bonche Richardson had transferred in and he was playing really well for us. So we had a group of guys who kind of did well off each other. I mean, even if, I was the so-called star player on the team, we felt like anybody can have a big night any given night. And if you go back and look at the state tournament, it took all of us to win. Even though some games we were winning by big, I wasn't going off for 30 or whatever every night. I'll have like 10, 15 points, but we were winning handedly. So that was my main focus my senior year. I had already committed to Louisville. I already had a scholarship. My chances for getting everybody else good looks was the most important thing to win it for us.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I mean, you still got, even though you didn't necessarily have to have 25 or 30 every night, you still got recognized as a McDonald's All-American, and you got to go out there with Avery and Abdul, Abdul Gaddy and Avery Bradley. What was that like, going out there with two other cats from Washington?
It was fun, man. I mean, to be recognized as one of the top 25 players in high school was, amazing. I mean, not a lot of people get that opportunity or get the chance. And, that was a goal that I was working towards, to be recognized as one. But if it didn't happen, it didn't happen. But to have three guys from the state of Washington go out there and represent was amazing.
Right.
So
that's awesome.
We try to put the talent on the map and, go out there and perform. And I thought we, held our own, did what we had to do. And, we had a good run at it. But it was fun, man, going out there and meeting all those guys, playing against the top talent, and meeting new people was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And going from that kind of leads into your Louisville career, your college career. Maybe talk about a little bit like the recruiting process, how you ended up. I mean, at the time, I think there were a few people that headed out to the, out of state, big time colleges. Maybe talk about why you chose Louisville at the time, and then some other. I don't know if there's like some other schools that maybe came close in your top choices, but maybe just talk about that whole recruiting process you went through.
So I have a lot of stories about my recruiting process as far as picking the school. So coming out of high school, I was recruited by a ton of Pac-10 schools, and was really looking forward to, have Washington, Arizona. Those were probably my top two as far as, the Pac-10 schools. And then Louisville kind of came on later, and I got a chance to watch them in the tournament. I heard about them more and more because T. Will went out there, Terrence Williams, and I saw their style of play and kind of fell in love with it. It kind of reminded me similar of how we played at Franklin, which is kind of hectic basketball, up and down, fast break, get out and run. And they had a guard by Edgar Sosa who had a tremendous run. Yeah, who had a tremendous run in the tournament. And, just the amount of energy he played with, the amount of passion, it just looked fun. It looked entertaining, and I kind of fell in love with it. And so kind of called around, talked to people about it, and asked them if they were interested in me. And, Richard Pitino came down to Franklin one day and watched us at practice, came to, it was freezing cold in our gym, but he came to watch one of our practices, and we didn't do a lot. I wouldn't say I had an amazing practice, but afterwards, they ended up offering me a scholarship, and, I accepted not too far after. But the process of it was I was looking at Arizona, Abdul Gaddy, who was the number 2 rated point guard in our class behind John Wall, had committed to Arizona. So I took Arizona off my list, and, it came down to Washington and Louisville. And then he had decommitted from Arizona because Lute Olson had eventually retired. Then he committed to Washington. So, you know, it wasn't like Louisville was my, you know, next up, but it kind of made my choice a lot easier to, you know, pick that school. So that was kind of my recruiting process of how everything went. And, you know, I got a chance to, you know, watch them play. And, you know, it's funny because I had a team like, you know, UCLA who recruited me. And UCLA at the time, Ben Holland was there, and they were known for defense, like half-court defense, grind it out. And I was like, no way in hell I go to a school to play defense. And I was sadly mistaken and very wrong on choosing Louisville with that mindset. So I learned a lot my freshman year and had to go through some bumps and bruises, but eventually, you know, it worked out in the end.
I was going to ask, so, I mean, your freshman year, what was kind of the biggest – I know a lot of people say, like, the speed of the game changes from high school to college, like in any sport. But are there a few things that kind of jump out, like when you got to college, high-level college basketball, that you're like, whoa, this is really different than high school? You know, some aspect of the game that maybe jumped out at you is like something you're going to have to really work on to keep up? Yeah,
I mean, if you got to remember, you know, playing at Franklin – our tallest guy was 6'3", maybe. You know, I was the one that was doing jump balls at the beginning of the game. I would guard a 5-man sometimes when we played. So going to college, the shortest guy is 6'3". So, you know, the length of the players is a lot different. The speed of the game is obviously a lot different. But just the concept of basketball, you know, at Franklin we ran maybe 2 plays where, you know, against a man-to-man defense, we played one set. Against a switching defense, we played another set. But we never played pick and roll. We just didn't have the bigs. We didn't have the personnel to play pick and roll. And we had the personnel to play kind of one-on-one basketball and, you know, read each other off cuts. Whereas when I got to Louisville, it was more pick and roll sets, learning how to play the pick and roll, learning how to shoot off of pick and roll, learning how to make the right read off of pick and roll, learning how to set up the defense as a point guard, getting your, you know, teammates in the right defense and calling it out. I think it was a tough learning curve for myself, especially in a Rick Pitino offense and defense, to kind of grasp everything. But it was definitely a learning curve, and it took me a while to kind of figure it all out.
I mean, and speaking of Coach Pitino, was he more of this is more of like a curiosity question, but you hear a lot of coaching styles, like, oh, he's a player's coach, or he's, you know, a little harder on players. Like, how was Pitino as a coach as far as how he related to you guys in practice, just from a basketball standpoint?
From a basketball standpoint, I would say he was a very tough coach, especially on freshmen, just because, you know, he has a style of play that he likes to play, and that's obviously worked for him over his career. So as a freshman coming in to learn all that was very tough. You know, very rarely do freshmen understand and grasp his methods. I would say over the years, he kind of, you know, backed up and was able to, you know, change his philosophy a little bit, relax a little bit more. But at that time, it was very, you know, tough to, you know, get. And he was very, you know, hard on the freshmen, just because the older guys kind of knew, so he didn't have to, you know, get on them as much, which he still did. But it was more trying to teach the freshmen, like, the way of the game, the way the game should be played, and how he wanted his style to be played.
Okay, and then fast forward a little bit. I mean, just looking over your, you know, your career at Louisville, obviously your senior year jumps out. And correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but you were all Big East third team. Second Big East tournament. You won your second Big East tournament MVP. And then, of course, you guys won the national title, and you made the all-tournament team. So, of course, like, going back over your, you know, your career so far, is that your senior year in general seems like a lot of things happened, like a lot of good things happened basketball-wise. Is that, like, maybe one of the years that jumps out at you as far as your career goes, is maybe a highlight, just that whole season in general?
Yeah, my daughter's probably going to jump in right here.
That's cool.
So I would say the end of my junior year is kind of where I kind of progressed and kind of took off. I would say, I dealt with a lot of injuries, a lot of different growing pains through my career at Louisville. But my junior year, really helped me out. I won the – say hi.
There she is. Hi.
So I won the Big East tournament in MVP, which kind of propelled us to go into the NCAA tournament, and we eventually went to the Final Four. By the time my senior year came, we had a good group of guys. We had another veteran core team similar to my senior year at Franklin. So everybody kind of knew their role. Everybody kind of knew the system, and we had just freshly came off of a Final Four. So going into my senior year, I felt more confident. I felt like I understood the system a lot better. Coach P had a lot more confidence in me to run the team. And, that gave me confidence to go out there and help lead us. And like you said, my senior year was, one of my best years. Through the year, I didn't score a lot. I think I averaged around like 10, 11 points a game. But as a point guard, I would say you have to kind of make sacrifices to win. And my goal was to win at all costs. I had players who can go out there and score 30 a game. I had players who can go out there and score. So for me, my job was to find those players, get them the ball, and put them in the right position. So that was my senior year. Yeah, say good job. And so that was my main goal my senior year. All about winning, and I put winning above all. And thanks to Coach P for trusting me to go out there and run the team. So that's what I try to do.
I mean, I just remember, because I just remember watching, and even if we didn't read over your stats, it just seemed like that year you had a lot more control of the offense. You ran the team. You were kind of like, going back to a football analogy, you seemed like more of like the quarterback of the team. Just from just from a fan standpoint.
That's why Daddy.
Yeah. Yeah. And, for me,
Daddy,
my senior year.
Daddy, you want to go toy house?
Okay. For me, my senior year,
And my daddy said
Yeah. My senior year, I was able to play without looking over my shoulder.
Okay.
That kind of gives you guys a sense.
I hit the bed though.
Yeah. With here's my other one. You can say hi.
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 All right. You guys go over there and watch the phone. So my senior year, I was able to play without looking over my shoulder just because of the fact that Coach Pitino trusted me to run the offense, and I felt more comfortable in running the offense. So, for me, it was just that comfortability, in college, team. And I didn't have to, like I said, I didn't have to constantly look over my shoulder if I made a turnover. I didn't have to constantly look over my shoulder to, get a play or to call a new play. Coach P kind of trusted me to go out there and make the reads that I can, make the right reads, because sometimes he doesn't see what I see on the court. And sometimes I don't see what he sees on the sideline. So we kind of had that connection my senior year to go out there and play.
And then speaking of Coach Pitino, are you guys still, I know a lot of coaches that keep in contact with their players over the years. Maybe talk about, are you still in contact a lot with him? I'm sure you are, and are there some things that he taught you maybe off the court, just in life in general, that stuck with you?
Yeah, so I talk to Coach Pitino, not every day, but we talk every now and then. He was just recently a coach in Panathinaikos and EuroLeague, and we literally were getting ready to play them before the season got canceled, and so that was a tough blow for us. But for the most part, hold on 1 second, sorry.
You good?
Yeah, so for the most part, what he taught me a lot. off the court, he taught me to, continue to. Hey, you gotta be quiet, baby. 1 second, sorry, you guys can cut
No
it.
worries.
All good.
They're ready for bed, and get them ready, but they're fine. Hey, get out of the camera. Here. Hey, turn your volume down. All right.
All the way down?
Yes. I'm talking. Yeah. But yeah, they're sad. But back to what I was talking about, Coach P. So some of the life lessons, that Coach P taught me was one of the big things was that we kind of live in a microwave society as far as for basketball, that people aren't going to remember what you did before. They're only going to remember what you did now. And that's what he told me literally before my junior year, before the Big East tournament. I was having a bad year. I was having an up and down year. And, confidence was a little shooken. Everything was kind of like looking the other way. But, he put me in the office and told me, like, no one's going to remember what you did your junior year if you go out here and perform the way he knows that I can perform during the Big East. And, I took that to heart. So when I went into the Big East tournament my junior year, I just let it all in line. I was feeling healthy. I was feeling good. And, obviously we went on to win it. I went on to win the Big East MVP that year. And, yeah, no one remembers what I did before then. And
No.
it kind of holds true. So that was one of the key things he taught me, just some life lessons. And then other things, he taught me off the court just about managing money, investing and things like that nature. But, he's a big time investor. He has a lot of things that he has his hands in as far as, projects off the court. He owns Dunkin' Donuts. He owns a Lexus dealership. Just things like that. I kind of talked to him a little bit just to kind of pick his brain about. But, yeah, some of the things that's off the court.
Now that advice you said would make sense. Kind of what I noticed about your college career is you are always you seem to step your game up when it got to tournaments. So like whether junior year, Big East tournament, NCAA tournament, because you guys might not have been the overall, won the Big East championship, but you always showed up at the tournament time, and then obviously going on that Final Four run your junior year, and then going against your in-state rival, obviously with Kentucky. That Kentucky team was loaded that year, and then going on your senior year with the Battle for Atlantis tournament, and then playing all the way to Duke in the championship, and then another Big East tournament run where you got another Big East MVP, and then that another Final Four senior year to the national title, and against that Michigan team that was loaded. So it just seemed that advice you really took to heart, because when tournament play was there, you showed up. You showed up every time. Transitioning from like the college, let's talk about just kind of there's NBA and GLeague and all that. And so tell me the emotions you felt, being drafted, by the Pistons and all that kind of process, the pre-draft process and all that.
So, man, the draft process was very hectic, to say the least. I had about 15 different workouts with different NBA teams. So you're flying from one workout to the next workout, one workout to the next workout. I had a chance to work out in Detroit. I had a chance to work out with a lot of different teams. But for the most part, it was different teams had different, workouts that you had to go through. But I enjoyed it, man. I mean, I think that's one thing that college helped me prepare for was, Coach Pitino, we did individuals every day. And, he used to be an NBA coach, so he kind of put us through NBA workouts, what they would expect and what they would do every day. So I think that kind of helped me going into that process. And, draft night, it was, I didn't know what was going on. You hear rumors about you can go here or there. But, I had turned off my phone. I wasn't, I was ignoring everybody's calls, trying to keep the lines open just in case I did get that call. And, eventually I did get the call to Detroit. I was very excited, very happy. I got a chance to go out there and play Summer League, play with Detroit, learn under guys like Chauncey Billups, Brandon Jennings, who's playing well, Will Bynum. Then, you know, I had my vet guy, Rodney Stuckey, who's also from the town. So I was able to, you know, stay with him, learn from him, and he kind of just showed me the ropes there. So it was a good experience, man. It was, you know, the whole process was, you know, nerve-wracking to say the least, because, you know, you work your whole life to get that opportunity, get that chance. But in the end, you know, it was great.
Good. What you know, and during that season, that 2013-14 season with Detroit, you know, they started off obviously with Coach Cheeks, and then, you know, Coach Laird came in as interim. Just talk about your experiences with those two head coaches and maybe what you took from them, you know, during that season there.
Man, I mean, two different styles of play. You know, with Coach Cheeks, you know, he's a former player. You know, he's a Hall of Fame point guard who, you know, obviously knows how to run a team. So it was different. You know, I didn't get a lot of playing time. He allowed me to play some games, but, you know, I was, you know, I got hurt at the beginning of the season, so I wasn't able to, you know, really come back and be at full strength. So I got sent down to the D-League. I played with Fort Wayne Mad Ants for a stint where, you know, I played really well. The front office was, you know, happy with the way that I played. But, you know, watching our style of play, it was weird because, you know, we definitely had a talented team, but just the personnel, I felt like just on the court really didn't mesh well together. And, you know, they dealt with a lot of injuries. You know, Chauncey was out half the year. Brandon got hurt, or Will got hurt. You know, Rodney was playing amazing at the beginning of the year for that year. So, you know, we definitely had our ups and downs. When Coach Laird came in and I got a call back up to come back up to Detroit, I was able to finish out the year and stayed up the whole time with the team. Played well in a couple games that, you know, I got a chance to play in. He, you know, gave me opportunity because I was able to practice with Detroit the whole year. And, you know, he loved the way that I practiced and the energy that I brought. And obviously he was able to see the progression that I made throughout the year. So he trusted me to go out there and played a couple good games. But unfortunately, you know, they changed the whole management, the whole coaching staff, and they didn't feel like it was a good fit for me to come back.
And then going, you know, switching, you know, being waived and then being, you know, acquired by Orlando, you know, talk about, you know, going into that summer, you know, was there certain aspects of your game you were trying to focus on that 2014 summer before, you know, obviously ultimately ending up with a little bit of Orlando for a little bit? Was there a certain focus you were trying to work on in parts of your game?
Yeah, you know, going into Orlando, for the most part, you know, a knock on me that was just being more consistent with my jump shot. And that was one of the things I try to really focus on and really get better at. And I felt like I improved throughout, you know, my career. And I improved more, you know, while I was down there with Orlando and eventually with their GLeague team, the Erie Bayhawks. And, I enjoyed my time down there. I learned a lot. You know, got a chance to play with, you know, good players, Seth Curry, you know, Drew Crawford, a lot of good players that played down there. And, you know, so I learned a lot from those guys, you know, helped me just grow as a player playing down there. And, you know, it helped me further in my career.
And then I always feel like, you know, whenever I talk to players about kind of their G League experience, it could go definitely extremes, good, bad. I mean, that year in the G League down there with the Orlando affiliate, you know, tell me, describe that year. You know, what really stood out, or what did you really like, or maybe you didn't like about that G League experience?
I mean, it was definitely tough, I would say. Looking back at it, you know, I didn't really mesh well with the coach too well. You know, the area was, you know, Erie, Pennsylvania. It was very cold, snowy. Not a big city, not new, but they had a lot of good food restaurants. And, you know, so me and Seth would go to B-Dubs every week to watch football games on Sundays. You know, so they had you know, I didn't really have the mindset to kind of enjoy it. while I was down in the G League. You know, you have to have the right mindset when you go down there to kind of get the full experience and get everything out of it that you could. And my mindset wasn't in that way during that time. So you can either, you know, be miserable and think you need to be in the NBA or constantly waiting for NBA call up, and that can also play on your mental and you know, kind of play with you a little bit. But you know, if you go down with the right mindset to kind of learn, get better, I think those type of guys end up doing well. And you know, I don't think that was kind of my mindset at the time. I just had a daughter, so, and I was married, so I was constantly thinking like, okay, I need to do this to get a call up. I need to do this. I need to do this. And
For sure.
I think that kind of just played on my mental more than anything. And you know, I still had a good year down with Erie. I still had you know, a good time in the most part. You know, I had good teammates. You know, built a strong bond with them all. But you know, I don't think I got out of the G League what I could have.
So,
But I would say Erie, it was you know, besides all that, like the organization, you know, the people who ran it, the fans and everything were all great. They all, you know, helped me out a lot.
man, right after you know, you play summer league for the Orlando team, and then you end up signing with the team in Italy. I mean, I'm gonna butcher this name. Juve Caserta.
Juve Caserta.
Juve. Shit. All right. Okay.
They're all good.
So, what went into that versus trying to get another, you know, job within the NBA, like another training camp invite or another contract with them? What was it? The fact that you had just got married, or that you were already married and you just had a daughter and you need something more stable, or was it just like you just want an opportunity to just get on the court and play and just, you know, really get that love for the game back again?
It was more so for, you know, a chance to go and earn some money. You know, being in the G League, it's tough, man. You got to keep climbing. It's a grind. And you're not really making a lot of money in a sense.
Right.
You know, Italy had presented the opportunity, obviously with more money. So decided to, you know, take that. And, you know, I didn't really want to go to Europe at first, but, you know, it was a good opportunity. I was going to go out there and play basketball, a chance to kind of, you know, travel and see the world. And, you know, thought it would be a good experience to, you know, do. So decided to go out there and play in Caserta. And it was definitely tough, but, you know, made it through, made some good people, and, you know, started my career in Europe.
Yeah, and it's actually kind of cool because you played with some guys who were well known within Washington, Micah Downs and Bobby Jones. How did they help your transition? Because they had already been vets in the pro game out in Europe. So how did they help your transition?
It was good, man. You know, they both brought different aspects to the game. You know, with Micah, another guy from the Seattle area who's, you know, All-American, state of Washington, a tremendous scorer, tremendous player. So I got a chance to kind of learn from him, see the way he handled himself and everything. And then, you know, with Bobby, he's a vet. He played out in Italy for, you know, I think 10 or something years. So he kind of knew the city, he kind of knew the language, he kind of knew the customs of everything. So he kind of helped me along the ropes of the business side of how to handle myself, you know, with late payments, etc. Living situations. You know, he kind of knew the ins and outs of all that. So he was definitely a great vet to kind of, you know, lean on, ask questions if I had any, and, you know, he helped me a lot.
Definitely. And then, you know, going from there, you had a good season out in Italy. Then you signed with a then Euro Cup team and one of the top teams in Germany, Alba Berlin. How did that kind of come about? And then talk about, you know, the last 4 years, because you've been there the last 4 years. So kind of talk about how that experience has been up until this season, because I'm going to talk about this particular season with my next question.
So After Italy, I was able to get a chance to come out to Berlin and play in Alba, which, the first year, started off rocky. I got hurt midway through the year, which kept me out, pretty much the whole season. Fortunately for me, they thought highly enough to bring me back for another year. They changed coach to now Coach Aito, who's a legend out in Europe, and he brought a whole new system in, man. And he was really one of the main reasons that I stayed in Berlin for his last 3 years with him. He just made basketball fun again for me, man. He just made it, his style of play is a free-flowing offense. It just gets up and down, just read and react. And he made the game fun for me again. And I think that's, what I was missing a lot. And, basketball can become a business, at our stage in our career. But he made me just really fall in love with it. And, the teammates that I had were all good players, all good teammates. I played with another guy from Seattle, Luke Sigma.
Yep.
Who's a hell of a player, tremendous player. And, I just enjoy the game of basketball and playing alongside of those guys. So, it's been a fun, road, but, the city's nice, especially for an American. Everybody speaks English down there for the most part. So it definitely is easier to communicate and, get around, especially for me having a family with 2 girls, 2 daughters. It's easy to, go to a park, go to a restaurant, find something for them to do. They have, it's a big city, so they have things to, go do and nice parks around and everything. So it's a comfortable place for my family, and it's very rare that an American stays with a team for so long. So I'm definitely blessed to be able to do that, and I'm going into my 5th year next year to play with Alba Berlin. So, it's been a fun 4 years so far.
Definitely. And so you guys had some Euro Cup success. I believe last season you guys got second in Euro Cup, and that propelled you guys this year to qualify for the EuroLeague, which obviously is the second best, league in the world. So talk about that first season in EuroLeague. I know you got hurt a little bit. You got hurt in the season, but when the games you did play, you were one of the best point guards. You were 8th in assists. I mean, I think you were still kind of rounding back into form from injury. So talk about playing in the EuroLeague. Multi-level point guards, Shane Larkin, Nick Calathis, Mike James, Malcolm Delaney. It's like every matchup you have is a big one. So just talk about that first year.
So, man, my first year, in EuroLeague was fun, man. Like, obviously, it sucked that I dealt with a lot of injuries, and, that's just the story of my life that I've been dealing with. But, getting a chance to play against guys with, such high caliber guys is amazing. Playing in the second best league in the world, behind the NBA. You're playing against, high level guys in and out every night. Like you said, you're playing against Shane Larkin, Mike James, Malcolm Delaney, Capazzo from Real Madrid, Nick Calathis. So you're playing against top guys. I enjoy it. I enjoy the competition of it. And obviously I wish I was, healthy more to, go out there and compete better. But I think having that experience to go out there and play, learning how the EuroLeague is played, learning how the system is played, that it's only going to help me next year when we play in EuroLeague again. And I think, God willing, I stay healthy, then it could be a really big year for us.
Right. I mean, that's kind of been when you're healthy, you're one, you win championships, one healthy, and 2, you're one of the best point guards in any league you play in. I mean, that goes from high school, college. NBA, you didn't get much of an opportunity, but GLeague, and then now. So, yeah, I think, like you said, like you told my guy Cartier, healthy Siva.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said, that's pretty much been my Achilles heel since I was young, man. It's just all about staying healthy. So if I can do that, that's obviously, you can work on your game, you can work on your skill set, but my biggest thing is just if I can stay healthy and stay in the court, then that's when I'm at my best.
Right. And so finally, just we got just a few more questions. Again, man, we wanted to thank you for your time. Just talk about, you won the BBL. I mean, I think every year you've been in Germany, you guys have gotten second to Bayern. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Bayern,
okay. Bayern. So yeah, you guys gotten second, and then this year you guys finally got over the hump and you guys won the whole thing. So kind of just talk about the gratification of just getting over the hump.
Yeah, man, it's definitely been tough. The last 2 years, not including this one, but 2 years before that, we've went to the finals against Bayern. They beat us both times in the championship series, best out of 5. So it's been tough, especially on that end. So this year, we definitely felt like we had a good team. We had a lot of people back, but we felt like this was our year, our chance. Even before COVID hit, we definitely felt like we had a good chance of winning the whole title. So once we got a chance to play, we went 10-0 in the tournament that the league put back up. We swept everybody, and it was definitely gratifying to win. It was a little weird, without the fans at first, but at the end of the day, fans or no fans, championship's a championship, and we put in the work to get it. So that was the main thing for us.
Man, that's exciting. That's exciting for sure. So yeah, we just wanted to end this. We got some quick hitters for you. 1 or 2 word answers. First thing that pops in your head. So yeah, no pressure on any of them. So the first question is, you're the first Samoan to get drafted into the NBA. How do you feel about that?
Blessed, man. It was an opportunity for me to put Samoan basketball on the map. They're more known for football than basketball.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I'm not mistaken from following you all these years, you have an Adidas endorsement, or do you just?
I had Adidas endorsement. Yeah.
Okay. So what's your favorite all-time hoop shoe?
I mean, I would do. I've been Adidas since I was a little kid. So prior to pro models, my favorite now are the new Dames.
The Dames. Okay.
Yeah, those are my most comfortable ones for me.
Okay. I know you're a man of religion. What's your favorite Bible verse?
For me, it would be either Philippians 4:13 or Romans 8:18.
The 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens.
Strength for me. And Romans 8:18 is I consider our present sufferings not worthy to be compared with the glory that shall be revealed in us. Just meaning that, whatever we're going through right now doesn't have, near as much. What God has in store for us is a lot better than what we're going through now. So don't let our present sufferings get in the way of our future blessings.
Okay. When you come back to Seattle, come see your family and friends. Before you get that good home cooking, what's the first restaurant you go to?
Taco Time.
Is it Taco Time, huh? Okay.
Taco Time.
Like it.
It used to be Zales, but it's either Taco Time or Toshio's for me.
Okay.
Okay. Get some good old teriyaki.
Yeah.
And finally, this is one we always ask all of our guests. And you kind of brought it up earlier in your high school career, but you've obviously played a lot of the best players from Seattle, whether it's in the pickup, at those old at Vista, you used to do the pro runs at Vista, or just playing from pickup. Who's the toughest player from Seattle that you've ever had to guard?
Jamal Crawford.
Damn, that's like
easy.
That's the general consensus.
Yeah, I mean, he's the most recognizable player as far as like NBA and everything goes that you will actually get a chance to play against, just because of the way that he loves hoop, the way that he goes everywhere and anywhere to play basketball. And I mean, he's arguably, the Sixth Man of the Year award should be named after him. I mean,
Right.
For real.
Shit.
Damn. Okay, that's dope. Well, man, this has been an exciting day, man. Exciting interview, Peyton. We can't tell you enough how much we appreciate your time. You know, you taking a couple minutes out of your day, out of your evening to spend with us and kind of just talk to us about your career, man. So, man, thank you. It's been fun. I wish we could go longer. I mean, shoot, we could probably come up with another couple hours worth of questions, but man, we want to say thank you for coming on today and being a guest of ours. To our fans, please take the time to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And, this video, this is definitely a good one. So, Peyton, thank you so much.
Oh, man, no problem. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me, man, and good luck with everything. Appreciate y'all.
Man, so,
Thank you.
all right, everybody, take care. Adam, Charlie, Sano, Bruce, and a special guest, PBL champion, Peyton Siva. All right, everybody. God bless.
All right, y'all take it easy.
Thanks, bro.